Ladies and gentlemen, you ever wonder why things don't go as you expect? You've been good. You've been patient. You've prayed. You've worked hard. Yet you're stuck in a situation you didn't choose. And there's this person, a narcissist, who keeps showing up in your life. It's frustrating. It's confusing. You try everything to make it work, but no matter what, it feels like they just take. And you're left wondering, why am I here? Why did God let this happen to me? Here's the thing. You didn't just end up here by accident. It's easy to think that you're in this place because you made a wrong turn or because you're somehow cursed. But let me tell you, you're exactly where you need to be for a reason. There is a purpose in this. You see, sometimes the hardest people in your life are the ones that teach you the most about who you really are and about who God is in you. Now, don't get me wrong. It's tough. We don't like dealing with narcissistic people. They're selfish, manipulative. They twist everything around to make it all about them. They drain you. They wear you out. And yet God still allows them to be in your life. Why? Because there's something in you that needs to grow. God didn't just put you in their life to help them. No, He's using this situation to help you. It's like when you're refining gold. You heat it up. You let the impurities rise to the surface and you skim them off. This narcissist is your heat. You don't realize it, but every interaction, every confrontation, every moment of frustration is refining your character, shaping you into someone stronger. You see, this is an opportunity for you to see yourself clearly, maybe for the first time. You might not like the reflection at first. You might be mad at yourself for allowing them to treat you the way they do. But listen, there's grace in that moment. There's grace in recognizing where you need to change, where you need to stand up for yourself, where you need to set boundaries, where you need to find your strength, your voice, and your worth, because God is building something in you through this struggle. It's in these tough moments that God is teaching you how to love, how to forgive, how to release control. He's teaching you how to operate from a place of peace. Not because everything is peaceful around you, but because you understand that He's the one who holds it all together. And the more you learn to rely on Him, the less power these toxic, draining people will have over you. But you won't learn that if you keep trying to fight the way the world fights. You won't find freedom if you keep responding to this narcissist with anger, with bitterness, or with revenge. You're not fighting against flesh and blood. You're fighting against the lies that have been spoken over you, the doubt that tries to creep in. And here's the thing, when you stand firm in your identity, when you know who you are in God, the narcissist can't touch that. So let's stop asking, why me? Instead, start asking, what do I need to learn? What's God showing me in this? Because the truth is, God never wastes a struggle. This season, this battle, it's shaping you, it's refining you, and one day you'll look back and see how far you've come. And you'll realize that the very person who tried to break you was actually the one who pushed you into the next level of your purpose. You ever find yourself caught in a situation that feels like it's dragging you down? You wonder why this is happening, why this person seems to show up and make everything harder. You might think you've done everything right, been patient, been kind, kept your faith, and yet here you are, stuck in a relationship or a circumstance with a narcissist who's draining you. And in those moments, you might even start to ask, why me? Why is this happening? Why did God allow this? It's easy to get caught up in that mindset. It's natural. We all want to understand why we go through certain struggles, especially the ones that seem to challenge us in every possible way. But what if I told you that it's not a random accident? What if I told you that the very fact that you're in this situation has a divine purpose, something beyond just survival, something deeper that you're meant to understand? Truth is, sometimes God puts you exactly where you are for a reason. He doesn't let things happen to you just because. He allows you to go through these situations because He's shaping you. He's molding you into the person you're supposed to be. It may not make sense now, but if you look closely, you'll see that there's something in this moment that's preparing you for the next phase of your journey. When we face narcissistic people, it can feel like a constant battle. They're selfish, self-centered, and they use manipulation to get what they want. They don't care about your feelings or needs. But if we only focus on how hurt we feel or how angry we are, we miss the bigger picture. God didn't just put you in this narcissist's life for their benefit. He put you there for your growth. There's a reason you're there. There's something about your life that needs to be shaped, and God is using this very person to refine you. You might be thinking, how can this person be anything but toxic? And I get it. Being around someone like this is hard, and it often feels like you're being drained emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. But don't miss this. Through every conversation, every moment of frustration, every time they try to twist the truth, God is giving you an opportunity to grow in ways you didn't expect. Think about it. Maybe this person is revealing things about you that you never saw before. Maybe you've been too passive, or you've let boundaries slide. Maybe you've struggled with self-worth, always putting others' needs ahead of your own, trying to please everyone. This narcissist might be the mirror you need to see that. They force you to face the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding or ignoring. They challenge you to stand up for yourself, to not settle for less than what you deserve. And here's where it gets interesting. When you allow God to work in those moments, He's refining you. It's not about the other person changing, because they might never change. But you have the power to change. You can learn to walk away from toxic situations, to set boundaries, to say no without feeling guilty. You can find the strength to love yourself enough to not accept behavior that diminishes you. God is teaching you how to rely on Him, how to lean into His strength rather than trying to change the narcissist or control the situation. When you realize that God is using this situation for your growth, you start to shift your focus. It's no longer about surviving. It's about thriving. It's about taking what's happening and turning it into something that builds you up. It's about being refined, even when it's painful. It's about learning to trust that God sees the bigger picture, even when all you can see is the pain of the present moment. So instead of asking, why me, start asking, what am I supposed to learn here? The more you shift your perspective and let God work through the struggle, the more you'll see how He's shaping you. This person might be in your life for now, but the lessons you learn in this season will carry you into the next. They'll help you grow stronger, build your confidence, and help you understand that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's opinion of you. And in the end, that's what matters most, your identity in God and the strength He's giving you to walk through whatever life throws your way. When you find yourself in the midst of a difficult situation, especially one that involves someone who is narcissistic, it can feel like you're fighting a losing battle. Narcissistic people are often self-absorbed, manipulative, and controlling. Their behavior is draining, and you might feel like you're constantly giving and giving without receiving anything in return. This leaves you exhausted, frustrated, and questioning your own sense of self. But what if I told you that this struggle, as hard as it may be, is actually an opportunity for your personal growth? In moments like these, where you feel like you're being emotionally worn out, there's a deeper process happening that you might not fully recognize. Dealing with narcissistic people forces you to face your own vulnerabilities, your own weaknesses, and the areas of your life that you need to strengthen. The challenges you face are not just external battles, they are opportunities for internal refinement. It's in this very struggle that you can begin to see yourself more clearly, discover hidden strengths, and develop the emotional resilience that will serve you in all areas of your life. One of the first things that these difficult relationships bring to light is your ability to set boundaries. Narcissists often push limits, disregard your needs, and treat you as though your time and energy are theirs to take. Over time, if you let this go unchecked, it will leave you feeling like you have no voice, no control, no power in the relationship. But in this very struggle, God is teaching you how to establish boundaries. He's showing you how to stand firm, how to protect your peace, and how to ensure that you don't lose yourself in someone else's manipulation. Boundaries are not just about keeping others at arm's length. They're about knowing your own worth and deciding that you deserve to be treated with respect. In situations with narcissistic people, you may have to draw a hard line, even if it's uncomfortable. You may have to say no, even when they push and try to guilt you into giving more than you should. Through these moments, you'll discover the power of saying no without feeling guilty, the power of recognizing that your needs matter just as much as anyone else's. But it's not just about setting boundaries. It's also about becoming more self-aware. Narcissistic people often have a way of twisting the truth, making you question your own reality, your own feelings, and your perception of what's happening. Over time, this can cause you to doubt yourself, your worth, and your sense of right and wrong. However, God is using this relationship to help you become more secure in your identity. As the narcissist works to manipulate, control, or deceive you, it forces you to take a hard look at who you are and what you believe about yourself. Through this process, you learn to recognize the lies the enemy tries to use to shake your confidence. You begin to understand that you don't need the approval of others to feel validated. Your worth isn't determined by how well you can please the narcissist or how much they demand of you. Your worth is anchored in something much deeper, and this journey teaches you to stand firm in that truth. Another crucial aspect of growth in these situations is learning to let go. Narcissistic people often don't change, no matter how much you try to help, understand, or fix them. This can be incredibly frustrating, but it's also an important lesson. God is teaching you to release control. You can't change someone else's heart, but you can change how you respond. You can choose to stop trying to fix, change, or manipulate the situation. You can decide that their behavior won't control your peace, your joy, or your sense of worth. In learning to let go of the outcome, you begin to rely more on God's sovereignty. You understand that your role in this situation isn't to change the narcissist, it's to allow God to work in your own heart and transform you through the struggle. The more you let go of the desire to control, the more room you make for God to move in your life. Ultimately, as you face the difficulties of dealing with narcissism, you become stronger, more resilient, and more confident. You learn to recognize the value of your time, your energy, and your emotions. You start to see that your worth doesn't depend on pleasing others or fixing their problems. You are worthy because of who God says you are. And that's a truth no one can take away from you. As you learn these lessons, you emerge from the struggle more refined, more self-aware, and more connected to God's purpose for your life. When you find yourself constantly interacting with a narcissist, it can feel like you're caught in a cycle of emotional manipulation. Narcissists often expect others to cater to their needs, and they don't show much empathy or consideration for others' feelings. In these moments, it's easy to feel like you're not enough, like you don't matter, or like you have to sacrifice your well-being just to keep the peace. But what if I told you that God is using these difficult interactions to teach you how to protect yourself, to assert your boundaries, and to find the strength to stand up for who you are? A narcissist might try to manipulate you, making you feel like you're wrong or that your needs aren't as important as theirs. They might twist situations to make you feel guilty or question your decisions. But this is where God is showing you that you are worthy of respect and love, just as you are. Learning how to set boundaries becomes one of the most crucial lessons in these relationships. Boundaries aren't about being cold or unkind. They're about recognizing that you have the right to protect your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. For so long, you might have been taught to be selfless, to give until you have nothing left. But what happens when you give and the person keeps taking without ever giving anything in return? That's when it's essential to realize that it's okay to say no. It's okay to set limits. It's okay to walk away from a conversation or a situation that's draining you. By learning to protect your energy, you're not just standing up for yourself, you're also learning how to love yourself better. Setting boundaries is a form of self-respect, and it's crucial in any relationship, especially with someone who constantly tests your limits. It can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've spent so much time trying to please everyone around you. But this is where God is helping you grow. He's teaching you that you don't have to tolerate disrespect, that you don't have to put your own happiness on the line to keep someone else satisfied. When you learn to set clear boundaries, you show yourself and others that you know your worth, and you will not allow it to be compromised. But this isn't just about saying no to others. It's also about saying yes to yourself. It's about embracing your needs, your desires, and your right to live a life that brings you peace and fulfillment. Narcissistic people often make you feel like your needs are secondary, like your feelings don't matter. But by setting boundaries, you send a powerful message that your needs are important too. You start to recognize that you are worthy of love, care, and respect, just like anyone else. When you begin to assert yourself in these relationships, you also begin to change how you view your own self-worth. You no longer measure your value by how much you can give or how much you can tolerate. You begin to see that you are deserving of healthy, respectful relationships where both parties are willing to listen, communicate, and grow together. This shift in perspective is essential for your emotional and spiritual growth. Over time, as you strengthen your ability to set boundaries, you'll notice that these toxic relationships no longer have the same power over you. The narcissist may still try to push your limits, but you'll be more equipped to stand firm and protect your peace. Your confidence will grow, your self-respect will deepen, and you'll realize that the more you learn to love and honor yourself, the less you'll tolerate anything that doesn't align with that truth. You'll become more in tune with God's plan for your life and less likely to allow anyone or anything to diminish the person you're becoming. When you find yourself stuck in a toxic relationship or dealing with a narcissist, it can feel like you're caught in a whirlwind. The emotional turmoil, the manipulation, the constant uncertainty, it drains you in ways you can't even fully explain. It's easy to get lost in the chaos of trying to fix things, trying to make everything right, trying to change the person you're dealing with. But there's a deeper lesson here, a lesson that God is trying to teach you, and that lesson is all about releasing control and finding peace in the midst of the storm. You see, one of the most difficult truths to accept is that you can't control other people. Narcissists, by their very nature, don't change easily. They operate from a place of self-interest, and no matter how much you try to reason with them, help them, or even appease them, they'll keep behaving in ways that reflect their need for validation and control. So what do you do when you realize that no matter what you do, you can't change the other person? This is where God invites you to let go. Releasing control isn't about giving up. It's about recognizing that your role in this situation is not to change or fix someone else. It's about acknowledging that the only thing you can control is yourself. You can control how you respond to the situation, how much emotional energy you invest, and how much room you give for peace in your life. Letting go of the need to control others is a powerful step toward reclaiming your peace and your well-being. This lesson isn't easy, especially when the situation feels unbearable. It's tempting to think that if you just try a little harder, things will change. You might convince yourself that if you're more patient, more understanding, or more empathetic, the narcissist will come around and finally see things from your perspective. But here's the hard truth. You can't change someone who doesn't want to change. And the sooner you realize this, the sooner you'll free yourself from the emotional burden of trying to fix what's not yours to fix. Letting go of control doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent to the situation. It doesn't mean you accept mistreatment or let the narcissist walk all over you. In fact, it's quite the opposite. When you let go of the need to control the narcissist's actions or behavior, you begin to take control of your own life. You start making choices based on what's healthy for you, not based on what the narcissist wants or demands. You begin to recognize that your peace isn't contingent upon someone else's behavior. It's found in your ability to create a space where you can thrive regardless of what's going on around you. The process of releasing control also allows you to lean into God's strength more fully. It's in these moments, when you feel the most helpless, that God's power can shine through. When you stop trying to fix everything yourself, you make room for God to do what only He can do. You start to realize that you don't need to have all the answers or control every outcome. You simply need to trust in God's plan for your life and allow Him to work in ways you may not immediately understand. This trust doesn't come easily, but the more you practice releasing control, the more you'll find peace. It's a peace that doesn't come from resolving the conflict or changing the narcissist, but from accepting that God is sovereign and He will give you the wisdom and strength to navigate whatever comes your way. You begin to realize that true peace isn't about the absence of conflict. It's about how you respond to the conflict. It's about finding stillness in your soul, even when the storm rages around you. As you learn to release control, you also start to find a deeper sense of freedom. Freedom from the constant worry about what the narcissist thinks or how they'll react. Freedom from the emotional weight of trying to make things work when they're not. You begin to understand that your worth and your happiness aren't dependent on someone else's approval or validation. You are enough just as you are, and God has already equipped you with everything you need to stand firm no matter the situation. Letting go of control doesn't mean you resign yourself to being mistreated. It means you stop carrying the weight of someone else's choices and behaviors. It means you shift your focus back to God, to what He's calling you to do, and to the peace He promises to give you when you trust in Him fully. The more you practice this, the more you'll experience a peace that surpasses understanding, a peace that can only come from releasing control and letting God handle the things that are beyond your ability to change. When you're stuck in a challenging relationship with a narcissist, it's natural to wonder, why me? You might feel trapped, confused, and overwhelmed by the emotional toll it's taking on you. The constant manipulation, the gaslighting, the selfishness, it all weighs on you, and it's easy to focus on the unfairness of the situation. You may spend days, weeks, or even months questioning why you're going through this, asking yourself what you did to deserve such treatment. But here's the reality. Instead of asking, why me, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Shifting your focus from victimhood to growth is one of the most powerful ways to regain control of your life. When you're caught in a cycle of why me, you're allowing the situation to dictate your mindset, your emotions, and your actions. You're giving the narcissist the power to control how you feel about yourself and the world around you. But when you shift your focus to asking, what am I supposed to learn here? You begin to take back that control. You stop being a passive participant in your own story, and you start to actively seek the lessons that are hidden in this difficult moment. The truth is, life is full of challenges, and often the hardest people we encounter are the ones who teach us the most about who we really are. Narcissistic people can be a mirror in many ways. They show you things about yourself that you may not have seen before. They bring to light areas where you need to grow, where you need to heal, and where you need to strengthen your boundaries. But here's the beauty in that. God doesn't waste a struggle. Every challenge is an opportunity for you to become more of who He created you to be. As you learn to look at your situation with the question, what can I learn? You start to see that the narcissist isn't just a source of pain, they're also a source of growth. They're pushing you to see where you've allowed things to slide, where you've tolerated unhealthy behavior, or where you've neglected your own needs. They're showing you where you need to set firmer boundaries, where you need to stand up for yourself, and where you need to take control of your emotional well-being. And by recognizing these lessons, you can emerge from this situation stronger, wiser, and more resilient. This shift in perspective also frees you from the burden of trying to change the narcissist. So much of the frustration in dealing with narcissistic people comes from the hope that one day they'll change, that they'll see the error of their ways and realize how much harm they've caused. But that's not the lesson here. The lesson isn't about changing the other person. It's about changing yourself. It's about learning to love yourself enough to walk away from toxic situations, to stop accepting mistreatment, and to find your strength in knowing that you are worthy of respect. As you embrace this shift in mindset, you also begin to understand the importance of grace. Not just grace for the narcissist, but grace for yourself. We can be our own harshest critics. When we find ourselves in these difficult situations, it's easy to blame ourselves for allowing things to go on as they have. But in moments like these, you need to extend grace to yourself. You're not perfect, and you won't always handle things perfectly. But God is showing you that you can grow through this, that you can learn and heal, and that He is with you every step of the way. This change in mindset also leads to spiritual growth. The more you focus on what God is teaching you through the struggle, the more you learn to rely on His strength and wisdom. You begin to realize that this battle isn't just between you and the narcissist. It's a spiritual battle. It's a battle for your peace, your joy, and your identity. And in the midst of the struggle, God is teaching you to lean into His strength, to trust His plan, and to rest in the assurance that He is in control, even when it feels like everything is falling apart.